Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thanks as always for stopping by. Let me start firstly with some macro thoughts. Deutsche Bank has fined a great deal of money regarding a foreign exchange scandal of $10 billion. And this is the photograph that Bloomberg tweeted of him. He seemed a remarkably happy individual, I thought. And I was wondering to myself whether he was on a desert island by now. In the US, strong dollar policy such as it was now over, asked Jamie McGeever. Navarro, who's the president's trade secretary, Germany is exploiting the grossly undervalued euro. And indeed, he's got a point there. And Trump, dollar yuan is killing us. But interestingly, Holger tweets, who is the biggest currency manipulator? And he says, this chart reveals Switzerland and Japan intervene most in the markets to lower their currency. That's why they're considered safe haven currencies as well. Home thoughts. I leave the house at 6 a.m. with Hannah, and the school bus picks her up at 6:24 from the pickup point. And those 24 minutes are just so precious. She's been taking some exams, and so we spoke about her maths and her expectations. They're higher and higher. Then about Donald Trump, and I told her about Vanity Fair's theory about the Shabbat. And she says, actually, I studied that. And I said, well, tell me what it is. And she said, well, in the Orthodox Jewish faith, you're not meant to communicate or use any telecoms or anything from Friday night, I think, to Saturday night. And I said, well, according to Vanity Fair, all the crazy stuff is happening between Friday night and Saturday night because Ivanka and Jared Kushner are essentially incommunicado. So we had a little think about that. Then from there, I jumped to Marshall McLuhan. There are no passengers on spaceship Earth. We are all crew. The Genes of the Soul, an article about Amin Malouf on belonging, conflict, and how we inhabit our identity. Do take a read. It's a fantastic article, rich wrap-ups. A person's identity is like a pattern drawn on a tightly stretched parchment. Touch just one part of it, just one allegiance, and the whole person will react. The whole drum will sound. The oldest known human ancestor, according to the BBC World Service, was discovered in China. It comes in the form of a microscopic creature which lived over 500 million years ago. In what is China? What do you do in paradise? Handstands. This is from the World Pursuit. Early morning view of Mount Kenya from Lower Conservancy, photo by Peter Allison. There have been a lot of issues up there in Laikipia, farm invasions and all sorts, and I'll come back to that in a moment. The best blinged out watches from 2017 so far. Cartier Panthère Royale, Source Cartier. Political reflections. The African Union has admitted Morocco as a member. They left the old Organization of African Unity, the OAU. He always catches my attention, this king of Morocco, the way he dresses and looks. Deadly suicide boat attack on Saudi warship near Yemen, claimed by Houthi fighters, taking it to a whole new level. That photograph from Sky News. A politician is actually doing things he said he would do. This is a BBC World Service interview with an American. And he's saying that, America's largely behind President Trump. And I think this is this divergence you have between the reaction within the North America and the reaction outside it. Gold gains as Trump shocks market by doing what he said he'd do, which I thought was quite clever. The US dollar gets an injection of political risk. We had that stunning rally, but we seem to be backing off a little bit of late. The linguistic warfare specialist has had some of his people complain about the euro, the yen, the yuan from way back. This is the one thing Donald Trump, Syria's Bashar al-Assad, and President al-Sisi in Egypt have in common. Crowds matter, says Robert Fisk. We reporters love crowd figures. The bigger the mob, the better the story. Politicians love them too. The greater the masses, the greater the popularity. Ask not who said, I'm like, wait a minute, I made a speech, I looked out, the field it looked like 1.5 million people. Ah, those millions. Back in 2011, the crowds in Tahrir Square were in their hundreds of thousands, 1 million Egyptians. That's the figure Al Jazeera went for. Or maybe it was 1.5 million people in central Cairo. They helped to overthrow Hosni Mubarak with the help of the army. Of course, the people's protector. Experts thought 300,000 was the greatest number of Egyptians you could cram into the Tahrir district. But what the hell, it was a revolution. So Mohamed Morsi won the first democratic election in modern Egyptian history. Later still, President Fattah al-Sisi's publicists then announced that his coup d'etat had been supported by protesters who took part in the largest demonstrations in human history. They touted the total cross-country crowds as 33 million, more than a third of the entire Egyptian population. This was fantastical but obsessive. No wonder that when Trump met Sisi last year, he pronounced the Egyptian leader a fantastic guy. You could see what Trump's weird spokesman meant when he said that this was the largest audience ever to witness an inauguration. Whatever the final results of the US election that gave his master victory, Sean Spicer was untruthfully saying what his master truthfully wanted to hear. That the will of the people must be done, crowds matter. When the Egyptian army staged its coup, Sisi's friend Blair did actually say that it had done so at the will of the people. Maybe crowd figures are taking the place of public opinion polls, which long ago took the place of elections and popular imagination. And that the magic million or 1.5 million is the new obsession of American presidents, as it has been the obsession of Arab presidents for years. Zoom in on Trump, but let's not get obsessive about him. All he was saying is that he had seen an awesome manifestation of people power. I wrote a piece in September 2012 called The Madding Crowd, and I was quoting that quote about the defining bifurcations of the future will be the conflict between information masters and information victims. Information warfare will not be couched in the rationale of geopolitics, the author suggests, but will be spawned like any Hollywood drama out of raw emotions, hatred, jealousy, and greed. Emotions rather than strategy will set the terms of information warfare struggles. And I asked, what are the consequences of this new 21st century madding crowd? A madding crowd which can be inflamed by a fellow with a camera and an account with YouTube. There are plenty of flamethrowers in a population of 7 billion. If Trump hasn't yet seized the modern-day equivalents of the telephone and the telegraph, he has certainly managed to scramble their signals. This is in courts. The key to a successful insurrection, Lenin wrote 3 days before the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, was the seizure of the telephone and the telegraph. Every Soviet child, including myself, learned this dictum in the 4th grade. In the 21st century, I never thought I'd have reason to reflect on Lenin's advice again. If Trump hasn't yet seized the modern-day equivalents of the telephone and the telegraph, he has certainly managed to scramble their signals. Saying 100 years later in the US, American intelligence agencies and bipartisan members of Congress have come to a consensus that the revanchist and anti-democratic government of Russia meddled in the 2016 US election, using cyber warfare to tip the scales toward the pro-Putin candidate. It goes back to what I wrote in December. We have a deviate tomahawk. Lenin wanted to destroy the state. That's my goal too. I want to bring everything crashing down and destroy all of today's establishment. Steve Bannon. White House, ISIS, CNN. Goes back to those comments by Beppe Grillo. This is the deflagration of an epoch. It's the apocalypse of the information system. This is another important point. Traditional media has lost its position of control. It's been upended by the internet, which allowed insurgent politics to broadcast over the top. My piece over the weekend was how Donald Trump had turned up the volume up to 11. Locked in Donald Trump's America, immigrant employees are afraid to travel. Columbia Law tweeted Chicago hospital resident says his visa revoked after airport saw a Muslim prayer app on the phone. Interesting tweet from Hirschhorn. WikiLeaks starts giving Le Pen the Trump treatment. Look at this tweet. And I responded to him saying exactly, and herein lies his signal, like the signal that they gave out when they said the Russians never gave it to us. Of course they didn't. They gave it to someone else to give it to you. International markets, Trump trade advisor says Germany using grossly undervalued euro. Peter Navarro, the head of the US president's new National Trade Council, told the FT that the euro was like an implicit Deutschmark, whose low valuation gave Germany an edge over the United States and its European Union partners. Navarro's comments are the latest from Washington that may deepen growing unease over the outlook for global trade. Euro rose sharply to an 8-week high against the dollar at 108, further away from the 14-year low of 103.39, fallen almost 25% over the previous 3 years. Let's move on to the currency markets. Euro dollar 107.92, so not far off that high. Dollar index 99.77 when I checked last. It breaks 99.50 and we're going down much further. In fact, I think we've got to go short now. Anyway, a Japanese yen 113.44, Swiss franc 0.9911, the pound 125.74, the Aussie 0.7571, Indian rupee 67.615, South Korean won 1157.31, the Rial 315. Egyptian pound 18.79, South African rand 13.48. US consumer confidence eased from a more than 15-year high. Take a look at this. Dollar index 99.50, as I've said previously, is the key pivot. We look as if we're about to break down through that level. I think we're going to pull back much further. Euro dollar back at 107.92 last. Take a look at this 3-month chart. This is an 8-week high. Canadian currency, that's also been on a bit of a run here. 130.72. Take a look at this chart. Commodity markets, oil is set for a monthly loss as OPEC waits for its quota restrictions to come into play. I'm not bullish about oil, I've said it, I'll say it again. Gold, that's got a little bit of a pop, 1208, but I'm intending to look at it through that Bitcoin prism, which is now back at 967. And my trade, one of the big trades for the year was buy Bitcoin, sell gold. Emerging markets, why Mexico is exactly where you want to be in 2017, plus a tequila copter. Sounded good. And said, I like this photograph, it looked like an ideal place to while away an afternoon, preferably with some tequilas. The Russian currency has staged the world's biggest rally since touching a record low last January, up 20% last year. And it's coincidental with Putin's parabolic rebound, of course. Sub-Saharan Africa, the Western Indian Ocean's blue economy can thrive. Here's how. Very interesting article in The Conversation. Few readers will have heard the term Western Indian Ocean, yet this 30 million square kilometre of ocean off the coasts of 10 East and Southern African countries supports some 60 million people living within 100 kilometres of the shore. Annual economic output of the ocean is estimated to come fourth in line behind the region's biggest economies, South Africa, Kenya and Tanzania. Produces more than $20.8 billion in goods and services every year. But the health of the ocean is approaching a turning point. Many principal ocean assets are declining as a result of exploitation, and this is happening at a time when the use of ocean resources to support growth is accelerating. The whole blue economy is a very interesting subject, and African countries in particular are getting a raw deal. The health of the assets that provide these benefits is in jeopardy. The report documents 35% of the fish stocks assessed in the Western Indian Ocean are fully exploited and 28% are overexploited. Over the course of 25 years, both Tanzania and Kenya lost 18% of their mangroves. Over 50% of the shark species accessed in the region are considered threatened, and 71 to 100% of the region's coral reefs are at risk, with the exception of those in the Seychelles. South African all shares up 4.21% this year. Dollar versus rand has backed up a little bit on those reshuffle talk. Egyptian pound 18.7993. Nigeria all share down 3.12% this year. Ghanaians hoarding dollars put SEDI on course for 19-month low. The SEDI was among the worst performers in the world this year after data showed the nation's budget shortfall in the first 11 months of 2016 was more than 2 percentage points higher than the government's target. The SEDI declined 0.7% to 4.3775. Provisional data from the Bank of Ghana for the fiscal period from January through November showed a shortfall of 7% of GDP, exceeding the target of 4.7% because of weak revenue collection. The administration under President Nana Akufo-Addo, who took office earlier this month, will present the government's budget in March. Now, I think you buy the SEDI. I think President Akufo-Addo, I'm sure, will err on the side of fiscal rectitude. And I think he's saying all the right things. And I think what we're going to see is a scenario where we're going from a policy-making haircut, that's the SEDI price right now, to a policy-making premium. Therefore, time to get it. Ghana Stock Exchange as well, up 5.17% this year. Kenyan economic growth is expected to slip to 5.7% in 2017 from 5.9% in 2016. This is the central bank. He also spoke with Bloomberg, said the African economies are in an age of uncertainties. While Kenya has sufficient buffers, including a 1.5 billion standby loan facility with the IMF to cushion its economy in times of externally induced shocks, there isn't adequate insurance against a Trump effect. Njoroge said, referring to President Trump's inclination towards protectionist trade policy and his stance on immigration. There could be some headwinds. The most significant ones still remain the external environment. We don't have adequate insurance for them. African economies are in an age of uncertainties, which most nations and investors targeting emerging markets are waiting with bated breath for US policy. Kenya is worried that Trump may suddenly cancel a 16-year-old trade pact known as the African Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGOA. The treaty, enacted in 2000, allows dozens of sub-Saharan African countries to export certain goods to the US duty-free. It expires in 2025. What would happen if suddenly somebody blows out AGOA, or there is a slowdown in remittances, he said? The concern is not just for Kenya alone. The concern is worldwide. Remittances were the biggest source of foreign currency for the $69.2 billion economy, followed by agricultural exports such as cut flowers and black tea. And I wrote about this over the weekend in my piece, Trump Turns Up the Volume. Kenya, like other countries in sub-Saharan Africa, receives as much as 50% of its inward remittances from North America. It is estimated that more than half of our people in the US are not properly documented. Scenes that we have witnessed over the weekend at US airports does not bode well. Ramogi FM, NASA leaders unveiled 12-member team led by Orengo to work on coalition instruments to decide flag bearers. My theory here is the Obama theory of 2008, a blank slate upon which people can project their political opinions, vastly different people. I think the lesson from West Africa and Gambia, Damabara, is for these opposition leaders who are now tired and have been there for so many years, take a step back, find somebody like that, blank slate, people can get behind, and I think, that's the strongest chance of victory. Laikipia invasion, gunmen attack Suyan Lodge in Kenya, photo taken by Lodge staff, and it was the US ambassador, funnily enough, who mentioned this to me, and I knew nothing about it a couple of weeks ago. And now I've been following it. It's not looking very good. Kenya shilling at 103.835, stable. Nairobi all-share bounced yesterday 0.8%, but remains down 8.33% this year. NSE 20 down 12.3% year-to-date, but bounced 0.17% yesterday. Saiton has acquired a 1 billion shilling stake in Superior Homes ahead of a possible NSE listing. Once again, thank you so much for stopping by.